Can you guys hear me? I can hear me, so I think you can hear me. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Aaron Loy. I am your worship facilitator. Jamie DeWicki is providing music, and Kate Erickson is our guest speaker for today. Kate is a citizen of the Oneida Nation and a frequent speaker on Wisconsin Native American history. She is a faculty member of the History Department at the Milwaukee Area Technical College, where she teaches Native American history, early American history, and if that wasn't enough, state of Wisconsin history as well. Kate is also the president of the Wisconsin Indian Education Association and is an elected member of the Cedarburg School Board. If this is your first time visiting or you're fairly new to the church, we are so glad that you are here. Please join us for coffee and conversation downstairs after the service. We would love to get to know you. Additionally, if you haven't already done so, please fill out the visitor card and place it in the offering plate later in the service. This will enable us to better serve you and answer any questions that you may have about the congregation. Also, if you have any children, please let us know. We will collectively learn from a short story in just a few minutes, and we can direct you to our religious education and childcare options at that time. Every Sunday, we formally mark the beginning of our service by doing a chalice lighting. Throughout history, the flaming chalice has been viewed as a symbol of religious freedom, a memorial of those who sacrificed their lives for religious liberty, and a reminder of our Christian roots of universalism and Unitarianism. So I'm going to come down, and we actually moved the chalice down to the center. We're going to try it there and see if we like it. And I'm going to recite some words, and then have everyone join together after I've said each one for those on there. I'm reading the wrong thing. I'm going to do Robin F. Gray first, and then we'll do our call to worship. I'll have you guys recite with me. So let me get down there. Hello, hello. There we go. You guys can hear me. Okay, so these words are by Robin F. Gray, so you guys can join in me as we light the chalice. We join our voices in a holy communion of mind and heart, dedicated to the promises that bind us in compassion one with another. In this hour, we light the flame that signals our intention to find the sacred in every living thing. And now I invite you to join and participate and receive in our call to worship by Joan Javier Duval. So I will recite a line, and then I ask that you guys as the congregation respond with the words in the title, "You are beloved and you are welcome here." Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 134, Our World is One World. I would now like to invite our children to the front of the sanctuary for our time for all ages. Today's story is When We Are Kind by Monique Gray Smith, which will be read by Evie, our religious education teacher.
When we are kind. So this is actually a Native American story. It's Navajo. So I thought that that would fit today's theme. I am kind when I help my family. I am kind when I share with my friends. I am kind when I take my dog for an extra long walk. I am kind when I help my neighbor. I am kind when I bring food to my elders. Let's put it away for a second, okay? I am kind when I only take from the earth what I need. I feel joy when my family and I are kind. I feel happy when my friend is kind to me. I feel comforted when my cat is kind to me. I feel loved when my elders are kind to me. I feel grateful when the earth is kind to me. I feel respectful when I am kind to myself. When we are kind, we remember we are all related.
So please join in singing our children out to their RE classroom. Go lift it up. Can you hear me now? I like that commercial. Okay, so now we move into a time of sharing our joys and sorrows. If this is new to you, we like to share our celebrations, our struggles as a congregation. For it is in that vulnerability that we experience true connection with one another and compassion for one another. So if you have something that's on your heart today, something that you want to share, please come forward. I'll hand you the microphone. Tell us your name and what's on your mind. As you do so, take a stone from one bowl here and then place it in the empty bowl with the water. There it will join the other stones and create ripples carrying your concerns out to the wider community.
Hi. Get ready to put your hand up in the air in just a moment. Some of you remember that a year ago, we had a student who visited us and worshiped with us often. That was Maddie Gamble. She has not come back to Carroll this year. She is in California with her mom. She's going to school. She's working full-time. She has a full-time scholarship. Thus, she has more money than many of us. And this week, she made an unusually, for a college kid, generous donation to our building fund. So if you are happy at how she touched us and we touched her, just put your hand in the air and shake it. Thank you, Maddie.
Hey, I'm Len. If you go to the No Kings demonstration on the 18th, please go across the street to the Dems office. I'm going to be there, and I will be handing out snacks.
Hi, I'm Ellen. So who remembers what the weather was like on October 12th, 1985? 85, right? Yeah. Well, it rained in the morning, and then it got to like 70 degrees, and it ended up being a beautiful day. It is Jeff's and my 40th wedding anniversary today. Neither of us can believe that. He slept in a little bit today. That's why he's not here. So my mom had said that rain on your wedding day is good luck. We have had some good luck. We've had a lot of not so good luck, as maybe most of us have experienced. So, yeah, just crazy. And congrats to the Brewers, right?
I'm a Cubs fan, so yeah. There's a few of us out there. Yeah. Okay. Now I will place one last stone for all those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken, but in our hearts and minds. Let us carry all of these into the days ahead. Please join in singing our response, Walking, Walking with You. Each week, we take up an offering to support our staff, the operation of our building, and the many ministries of our church. There are two simple ways to give. One is by utilizing the offering plate this morning, and two, by giving online at uniteduc.org/giving, which can also be accessed by scanning the QR code on the slide and in your order of service. Thank you to all of you who faithfully give through pledges, donations, time, and talent. We are forever grateful for your commitment and generosity to United. The morning offering will now be received. Today's reading is an excerpt that I found from Black Elk Speaks, as told to John Neihart. Then I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and round about beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw, for I was seeing in a sacred manner the shapes of all things in the Spirit, and the shape of all shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that made one circle, wide as daylight and as starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And I saw that it was holy. Please join me in welcoming Kate Erickson to our congregation.
Segoli, hello in Oneida. Thank you for having me this morning. The reading that was just done and the story that was read for the children fits in so nicely with this. So sometimes the universe does its job well. I love it. So what we're going to look at today is kind of a mini history lecture, but also looking at some basic tenets of Indigenous belief systems and how they view life and how compassion is interwoven into all of that. It's just inherent. There are lots of ways that people can view compassion. In terms of what I'll be speaking about this morning, I'd like you to keep these two things in mind. So, compassion involves shared humanity. Most definitions highlight recognizing some sort of shared humanity as the basis for treating ourselves and others with kindness and taking action in the face of suffering. And it's also a powerful motivator. Compassion can move people to go out of their way to help others, whether they're suffering physically, mentally, or emotionally. So one of the things that I cover right off the bat with my students is what you would call Indigenous worldviews. Now, keep in mind, there are hundreds and hundreds of tribes across the United States, and do we all believe the same exact thing? No. We all have our differences. But much of what I'm going to be covering this morning are kind of those basic tenets that you see across the board, those foundational things that we then build off of. So they're what you could be considered pan-tribal or supra-tribal, where they cover multiple. Our belief systems have compassion built into them. They recognize that shared humanity and the need to care for all of creation. So when we look at these belief systems, they have quite a few common features. The first one is they provide explanations, right? They explain the inhabited world, how things came into being. They explain the relationships between people and place. Why are we here? They explain events not caused by man, and they empower people to survive and thrive. Now, they also focus on life, and this is extremely important when we're thinking in terms of compassion. There is no concern or focus on good and evil. Okay, everyone has a balance. You have both. It's what balance you strike. All of creation has the option of either way or maintaining a central balance. Life itself is a gift. It's not an inherent right. It's a gift. And belief systems are designed to help people while they're alive rather than after death. So there is no sense of hell. There is no afterlife that you have to work towards. The whole premise of the focus on life is you are focusing on now. What you are doing now as a human being, the effect you have now. Because in reality, once we're gone, you don't have an effect anymore, right? But what you did while you were alive is what affects, in most terms, we consider the next 7 generations is usually what most tribes believe in. Now, these belief systems permeate all of everyday life. They're completely inseparable. This is just how things are. And because of that, these belief systems are extremely practical. They're rational. They're designed to achieve things in the here and now because the now is what's important. What you do now affects the next generations. It's meant to enhance life, ensure its vitality and goodness, and in some cases, its continuance. It teaches that creation needs to know that we as humans are thankful for what exists. It's very respectful. In order to continue these cycles of nature, there's reciprocity, there's always an exchange. Even when hunting or farming, there's always a need to give something back, a prayer or possibly an offering. The offerings that we see most common here are referred to as kinnickinnick. So if you've ever gone through Bayview and you've wondered, why is that road named Kinnickinnick? Where is that from? It's actually an Algonquian word that means much mixed, and it refers to the mixture of sage, sweetgrass, tobacco, and cedar, which is often what you would put down as an offering. Those are considered our 4 sacred medicines. So kinnickinnick is something you could put down as an offering. So relationships, togetherness, and community are how you would not just survive but flourish. Now, we have this shared humanity, right? We can't get through these things alone. One of the questions I always pose to my Wisconsin Indian history students as we get into the seasonal cycles lecture is, how long do you think you would survive in the Wisconsin winter on your own in the woods? I'd like to think I'd survive for a decent amount of time, but I love my indoor heating and plumbing and whatnot. But you have to think of these things, right? We rely on each other and we rely on the rest of creation. And it's the importance of these relationships, whether it be relationships with other humans or the rest of creation, because you have to recognize that without those relationships, you can't survive. Or your survival is going to be very painful, most likely. So what can you do to strengthen existing or create new relationships? It's not just enough to have relationships, you have to work on them. You have to be very vigilant. And so it's not just vigilance amongst humanity, it's also vigilance amongst the rest of creation, nature and animals and whatnot. Gifts are oftentimes seen as a social way of creating those relationships, those reciprocal relationships. So in terms of hunting, if I'm going to go out hunting or fishing or gathering, I would put down kinnickinnick beforehand and give thanks for the fact that I woke up this morning, the weather's nice, I have the physical ability to go out and harvest, and that hopefully because of putting that kind of out into the universe, we didn't call it karma, but it's kind of the idea, that I'm going to be successful and I'm going to be able to provide for myself and my community. So in pre-capitalist societies, exchanges always had a value to the communities involved. So what we're most familiar with are market exchanges, right? Equal value item for equal value item. You go to the store, something costs X amount of dollars, you have to pay that amount or you don't get the item. For us, we had things called gift exchanges. And so it was an exchange of things or services that establish relationships between the partners in that relationship. And that can be either with humans or with the rest of creation. And I'll kind of get into the rest of creation in a little bit. So what this means is that in a commodity-oriented economy, the goal is to appropriate goods, right? But in a gift exchange economy, the goal is to expand social relations. So these relationships are affirmed by gifts rather than the gifts themselves. So an example I like to give, my daughter's 15 now, but when she was in preschool, they made Christmas presents, right? And it was a clay, I don't know, I think it was a duck, but it was clay and it had colored macaroni in it, and that was what she made me for Christmas. And of course, as a mom, I spoiled her rotten and I spent a lot of money on her, and she made me, I still have it. She's embarrassed by it, but I still have it. That gift, when you look at it from a market economy, is what she gave me commensable to, you know, maybe the dollies I bought her, money-wise. No. But it's more valuable because of the relationship that's strengthened by that, the intention behind it. So gift exchange economies, the importance is placed on the actual exchange and not necessarily an equal value item to equal value item, or necessarily something being exchanged at that same exact time. Why is this important? Why do you value relationships over commodities? That's how you survive, right? Assistance is the only way to ensure your survival. It's constant vigilance. You're not just looking out for yourself. you have to look out for the rest of your community and creation, because that's the community, the web that's going to help you survive. So these gift exchanges almost kind of function like an insurance policy. You know, due to the weather, you may not be guaranteed a good harvest on your crops. Right now, the wild rice beds are struggling in Wisconsin, and we're actively working to reseed them. You're not guaranteed to have everything you need to survive. By having these reciprocal relationships, you can bypass things like the unevenness production of crops. Families you share food with are more than likely to reciprocate when you need help in the future, even tribal-wise. So say, as Oneida, our corn harvest wasn't all that great, and we know we're going to be struggling this winter. We could approach one of our neighboring tribes and say, hey, do you have anything you can spare? They oftentimes will give us what they can without, putting themselves into a precarious position. You never outright just say no. You always try to help as much as you can, because it sets up that reciprocal relationship. IOUs are good, right? You have that exchange. And the key to this is respect. So when an individual or community accepts a gift, the conditions that come with it are also accepted. And repayment is based on need and not what is necessarily equivalent. You are constantly watching not just yourself, but your community and the nature around you to make sure things stay in balance. And that's where we get into some of the goals of this focus on life. So a lot of these belief systems have 3 identifiable goals: ensuring harmony, ensuring subsistence, and healing the sick. Now, ensuring harmony, and this is where compassion comes into play again. Our job as humans is to ensure balance. Okay? If there's harmony, there's survival, right? If we have dirty water, right, we don't have enough crops. We have animals going extinct in certain areas. Our chance of survival decreases significantly. We were given brains and thumbs and all of these skills. Because of that, our job is to help maintain balance. Okay? The key to that is respect. You have to respect everything, not just people. It's impossible to tell who or what may have power. There's this idea that all of creation has spirit of some kind: water, animals, trees, plants, rocks, you name it. And preserving harmony requires constant vigilance and care. Ensuring subsistence, you have to make sure your crops can grow, your wild plants can grow. So that's where you get into ceremonies and showing your thankfulness. You put down your kinnikinnick. You're doing your Thanksgiving ceremonies. Healing the sick, that is oftentimes, in terms of illness, is seen as a breakdown between human beings and the spiritual world. Your mental health and physical health are inseparable. Okay? Those are things that you constantly have to be mindful of. Your physical and psychological health are related, and healing is very specialized, right? It requires intensive knowledge of natural plant remedies. So not only are you trying to maintain the health of your community, you have to maintain the health of nature around you, because that is where you are getting your medicines from. Now, the way this kind of all wraps up is in something called the principle of equal entitlement. Now, did we call it that? No. No. But if you want to do your research on it, that's, fancy academics, that's what they call it, is the principle of equal entitlement. And oftentimes, this is where I really start to lose my college students, because they definitely, this way of thinking is not your typical, Western way of thinking. So the idea of the principle of equal entitlement is that all created forms, including the unborn, are entitled to the natural benefits of the earth. Everything. All of creation has a right to exist and thrive. What exists now and what is coming in the future. So during a person's lifetime, we are seen as a trustee of a small portion of the garden. Our job is to maintain balance, to take care of those things so that we can pass what we've inherited onto the next generations in preferably better condition than we received it. It's very important to understand this concept because you have to be vigilant and you have to have compassion. You have to constantly be looking for areas where things can improve, where you can make changes, where you can do better. This is very much so different from kind of the capitalism idea, right? And oftentimes, this is one of the first things that was changed or tried to, wiped out, whitewashed because it didn't fit the narrative. No, it's not to say that tribes didn't see ownership of land, right? But it wasn't ownership in terms of, I'm going to fence this off and this is mine. I'm going to keep the animals out, right? I'm going to put chicken wire up because I don't want bunnies in my garden. It was the idea that we own the portions of land that we're on in terms of they are our responsibility to care for our use as well as the rest of creation that resides on that land. Now, another part of the principle of equal entitlement, which further confounds my students, and it makes sense when you think about it. It's the idea that the rest of creation is on equal footing with humans. There is no hierarchy. We are not the top of a so-called food chain or creation chain. And a lot of my students have trouble with this concept. It's believed that humans are not superior to animals and the rest of creation. And in a nutshell, it's the idea that essentially, as humans, we're kind of pathetic, really. We rely on all the rest of creation for everything we need to survive, right? If I were to put you in northern Wisconsin in February, and you've got a thin little jacket and some pants and some shoes and a hat and gloves, everything you're wearing came from something else, right? We're not covered in fur to keep ourselves warm. We don't have claws or, the speed to necessarily catch food with our hands or whatnot. We rely on all the rest of creation to survive. We use their skins for clothing and warmth. We make tools from animals and plants. We depend on them. We use them for shelter. You wouldn't have this building without trees, right? When you see yourself that way in terms of the rest of the world, your whole worldview shifts, and you are forced into compassion. You are forced to be vigilant and recognize shared humanity and shared responsibility with all the rest of creation. Now, remember how I initially said, this is reciprocal. It's circular. There's a lot of circles in Indigenous society. Seasonal cycles, aging cycles, all kinds of things. There's constantly cycles and circles throughout our belief systems, regardless of what tribe you're in. And so we're going to kind of circle back a little bit. If we as humans are to survive, we cannot only have compassion for humankind, but we have to have it for the rest of creation. And if we don't show that same respect, we're not going to survive, and neither will the rest of creation. So, if we're going to look at how do we help nature survive and thrive, we have to ensure that native and wild plants can grow, right? Those are where our medicines come from. Those are the things that we use to sustain ourselves. If we harvest all of the wild strawberries in a patch, how is that plant going to survive in the future, right? It needs to reseed itself. We've taken away its ability to exist. That's a right we don't have. Its harvest gave us sustenance, but we disrespected the plant by taking too much. And almost as karma, we're not going to have strawberries in that area in the future, right? Not only that, but we've taken a food source away from other beings. So what is going to happen to the animals that we rely on for survival? Deer love strawberries. I love wawashkesi, deer meat. So good, right? If we remove their food sources, they're going to travel elsewhere, and they're going to struggle. which means we're going to have to travel farther and farther for food. It's going to become more difficult for us. It could be seen that we are being punished with scarcity for taking more than we need and for not having compassion for the rest of creation. We rely on them. They don't rely on us. If anything, we're a hindrance or a harm to their existence. One of the examples I give my students in my National Native American course, we look at Chernobyl and how Mother Nature is reclaiming it. Right? That was a horrible disaster, human-made disaster, but nature is coming in and cleaning house. So these ways of being, this need to be compassionate and think of others and not just ourselves, is ingrained in Indigenous culture. And we recognize our place in this web of life, and that if we don't walk gently, if we don't take care of the world around us, we're a hindrance to their existence, and we can destroy that delicate balance and take down the rest of creation with us. Now, for many outside of the Indigenous community, these ideas can seem odd or even dangerous. These things were often, as I'd said, things that colonizers had wanted to stamp out because they didn't fit with capitalism. But nevertheless, these ideas are still being taught in our communities and in our tribal schools. We still work to protect the water, the land, and the beings that live on it. So we still have to exercise compassion for those around us if we desire to be treated with compassion in return. When we do that, all of creation can thrive. So compassion and vigilance is something that we're tasked with. If we're going to maintain balance and maintain harmony and take care of not only ourselves but the rest of creation, you have to decenter yourself. You have to realize that the world does not revolve around me. I tell that to my 15-year-old. She'll learn eventually. But it's one of those things where you have to recognize that you are part of a larger world. It's not just you. And once you realize that and you shift your thinking, compassion comes so easily. And if only more of the world had that today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn 1052, The Oneness of Everything. You may be seated. We moved announcements towards the end for today, so just a few of them for us this morning. First, if you haven't checked it out, please do so, because we're really excited to announce that we have a brand new website. Love our old one, lots of information, but the goal with this was really just to kind of simplify things, makes it easier to get to stuff. So please check it out. Let us know any feedback, any errors, broken links, things like that. But please check it out. The web address is the same thing, so uniteduuc.org. Next, you heard a little bit about this earlier. Mortgage fundraiser update. For those of you who don't know, we have met the matching goal of $50,000 by Mike Rivas, so thank you. And even more exciting news, if you didn't already know, Mike R. has been very gracious to say that he will match the remaining $10,000. So really what that means for us is pretty simple. I believe the last time I looked at the number is just under $5,000 if we can raise as a congregation. Mike will match that, and we can burn that darn mortgage when we reach that goal. So thank you so much, Mike, and thank you everyone for being able to contribute to that as you can. Social Justice Council meeting, just to confirm, is today. There we are, yep. In the boardroom, so today after service, anyone is welcome to attend. Also a board meeting on Tuesday. Anyone is welcome to attend this, 6 p.m. At United. Threads United this Wednesday at 1 p.m., October 15th. See Marcia if you want any details on that. Buddhist study group led by Patty, also this Wednesday the 15th at 6:30, so see her for any details. Next, our Journey group, previously called Soul Matters group, will be meeting this Saturday the 18th, 10:30 at United. If you're not familiar with this, you can come anytime, drop in, drop out. You don't have to do any homework. It's a really great time that we've been to as a family to just get to know each other a little bit better, be a little bit vulnerable with each other as well. And that's it. All those announcements are in your order of service as well, if you need to see those. So, before we conclude our service with a final song, I'd like to thank everyone who made this service possible, and again invite you to join us afterward for coffee and conversation downstairs in the fellowship hall. So we'll now mark the end of our communal gathering by extinguishing the chalice. So I'm going to move down there. Extinguishing the chalice is a reminder to all of us that while the physical flame goes out, the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment continue in each of our lives and actions beyond the sanctuary. Today's closing words are brought to us by James Galasinski. Our faith, like a light, illuminates the path before us so that we can face hurt with love, cultivate compassion, live humbly in community, and confront despair with the awe of life. Though our flame is extinguished, our faith shines bright before us.
Where the north wind meets the sea, there's a river full of memory. Sleep, my darling, safe and sound, for in this river all is found. In her waters, deep and true, lie the answers and a path for you. Dive down deep into her sound, but not too far, or you'll be drowned. Yes, she will sing to those who hear, and in her song all magic flows. But can you brave what you most fear? Can you face what the river never knows where the north wind meets the sea. There's a mother full of memory. Come, my darling, homeward bound. When all is lost, then all is found.
Thank you.